This week's episode is dedicated to Homelessness Week 2016. No one should be homeless, especially in Australia at this time. I mean, we're a progressive nation and we should be able to do better. This is one of the campsites I travelled to when I was out and around in my van. This was my home for 5.5 years and it was difficult. I won't dispute that I got to travel to some pretty cool places and got to see a fair swag of Australia and travel around to New South Wales, Queensland, places like that. But the problem is when you're faced with this as no other option, there's certainly some dark days. This is what I view as camping, where I get to load up my pack, travel up and spend some time in the majestic mountains, take a heap of photos, meet some new people, but then I get to return home and unpack my kit and relax. But when I was in my van, I had no other option. I didn't do much bushwalking when I was living in my van, and some people think that might be strange, but when I only had my van to return to, it was difficult. Hi everyone, Trevor here. Normally I'd give you an update on where our preparations and how the film project's going for our upcoming documentary. But this week's an important week, especially for those on the streets. It's actually Homelessness Week 2016, and during the week there's been a number of various events all around the country. Obviously I couldn't get to all of them, but I did get around to a few of them. And it's as you can see by my t-shirt, I was actually went out to a sleep out at Bairnsdale, which is out in East Gippsland. And I think this is a very important thing to notice straight off the bat, that the homeless issue isn't just a city-based thing. It's there's homeless all over the place. The numbers in the regional areas are going up. We had our recent street count. This is a flyer for the street count, and this was conducted by Melbourne City Council, and I was actually involved with that. And we've already had the numbers in. And what's worrying is that the numbers for the CBD and just the area that Melbourne City Council cover, the numbers are up 74% from 2 years ago, which is alarming. It was interesting when I was out at Bairnsdale there that they too have noticed an increased numbers of people that are sleeping rough and doing it tough, which is unfortunate. There's a whole range of issues behind that. You've got socio-economic factors, you've got domestic abuse is a major issue, and it's leading to a lot of the women that are ending up homeless, which is alarming. So you may ask, what are these events for? What do they actually do? And it's sort of interesting because some people might say, well, look, you have these events, who listens, blah, blah, blah. But the fact is, if we don't keep pushing the message, it'll get swept under the carpet. So the sleep out, there weren't heaps of people there, but it was organised by local youth, and look, it was there. That was something for them to do, and they're really concerned. I spoke to them, and it was interesting because they're concerned about employment and the lack of employment opportunity. You listen to other people who are a little bit older than them, and they talk of the economic concerns out in the regional areas. I should also mention that I wasn't just out there off my own bat. I'm also a member of the Council of Homeless Persons. I'm part of their peer education support program, and this is a program for people that have had the lived experience of being homeless, which I have. And we go out and we talk to corporate groups and government and all sorts of organisations and entities on the issue of homelessness. CHP's primary mission is to end homelessness. I'm not sure that you can actually end it. I think there'll always be people that'll fall through the cracks, but what I think we do need to do is we need to make sure the time that people are homeless is as minimal or as short as possible. And there's also programs and policies that can be implemented to make their time being homeless, we can make it less tough. We can make it safer. We can provide them with a better overall experience. Because what we know is that and this is backed up by a lot of research, but what we know is that the longer people are homeless, the harder it is for them to bounce back for a range of reasons. We also know that the longer that they're homelessness, or they're homeless, it allows them to, it exposes them to various risks and threats and life decisions that, in the compromised world that you're in when you're on the streets, it's very easy to take a wrong step, and they can have real and quite dangerous outcomes attached, and they can be even life-ending outcomes if things go wrong. So that's part of what I do, and I must stress that the work I do with CHP is completely different to my film project, but it is just another component of what I do, and people might wonder what I do in between episodes during the week. Well, I'm flat out. But we also did do some more filming. I took some time lapse at one of the local charities where I interviewed one of the managers recently, and we got some time lapse of them setting things up, and that's pretty interesting. And then straight after doing that, this was on Friday night, I went to another event, and this was organised by the Homeless Persons Union Victoria, or the HPUV, and they're another group that are trying to push the homeless issue. And this event was quite interesting. They had a number of speakers on their forum, and I thought it was very well organised, very professionally run. There was a local member of the council there, and it was held in the town hall. It went overtime, but I was very impressed. I mean, I've been to a lot of government and corporate events, and this was as run as slick as most of them. I mean, I was impressed with it all. As I mentioned, the primary messages that came out of that night were that we need more public housing, we need it to be affordable, and we need it to be available. There was also some information that come forward from some of the squatters, and it was interesting to hear the lengths and the amount of money that various people, the government and corporate world, are spending on security, stopping people from getting into empty houses. So that was sort of a little bit oxymoron type of thing attached to that. I can understand that the people saying, well, whoever owns the houses, whatever, but I think we've got to move past some of this. I think some of the people that want to tie up all the real estate and what have you, and we talk about how many empty houses there are around, when you've got 100,000 people homeless on the streets of Australia, we need to start and have a look at it. I'm not saying that you can't own a house and lock it up and nobody's in it, but maybe you should have to pay a few dollars tax on top of that. Another event I went to during the week, and again this was in my role with CHP, was a presentation to Bosch, who were one of the big corporate companies, and they were having a sleep out as well. And this was pretty cool. I actually got to show them my small doco from last year, which I've mentioned a couple of times, but here's the address again if you want to go check it out. And it was interesting. There was a girl from The Big Issue there, and people might know that I got first published in The Big Issue, and it's a great publication and does a lot to help people that are doing it tough. Many of the homeless say they find it a great way to use up their time in a more positive manner, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It was interesting. They've got a couple of different programs from their street soccer and a few other things, but they've got a homes program that they're implementing, and they're talking about that when people sell a house, they can put in in the contract that 0.1% goes to The Big Issue for their homes package. Well, I mean, that sounds great. I don't know about the 0.1%. I did the math, and I've checked this because I'm not really good with maths, but 0.1% of $1 million house is $1,000. So, it's not. That's going to take a long while before they're going to be in a position to be able to actually buy houses and put the disadvantaged into them. I would have thought 1% would be better, and on $1 million house, well, that's 10 grand. So that's the difference. But anyway, we'll see how it goes.
So that's about it. Like I say, it's been a big week. Lots of things going down. A couple of things. There's a publication called Helping Out, which is produced by Melbourne City Council, and it details all the different charities and groups and where you can get lunches and things like that. They've also got it as a map. If people are looking for other things they can do, you can subscribe to the Parity magazine. And Parity is produced by the Council to Homeless Persons, or CHP, and it has some really good articles in there and lots of information. And if you're wondering just what's going on in the background, you get a lot of good stuff out of this. And apart from that, our film project, is looking not too bad. But what I also just want to add, and let me just jump up for a second. Hi, just another thing I'd just like to add. Yesterday was International Alopecia Day, and as you can see by my t-shirt, and I'm saying I'm okay, it's just AA, I do have alopecia, and that's why I've got no hair on my head, arms, things like that. The AAAF, which is the organisation, a bit of a support organisation, they do a wonderful job. They were protesting yesterday that the wigs that a lot of the girls especially have to buy, and yes, girls get this as well, and I can tell you that society, as much as they don't want to really, don't like the idea of having homeless on the street, they are not prepared to accept bald women walking around either. So it's very confronting and very tough for especially the girls. I can tell you as a bloke it's been tough, but for the women it's just ridiculous. But at the moment, the wigs that they have to buy, and they really do need these help them get through, what they have to confront and deal with, and be able to deal with it. It was the wigs at the moment attract a GST, and look, I know that the government needs money to run and all of that, but you have to wonder about the little bit of money they get from this. But to the families that have to buy this must be just, and these wigs are like $4,000 each, so the GST adds up. So I just thought maybe I'd mention that. But apart from that, like I say, I think the t-shirt says it all. Cheers, guys. See you next week. Next week I'll have some photos, and I'll show you some stuff from our film shoots. Cheers.